Just before we start this, I would like to say a few words in terms of the politics Osama mentioned. That a lot of things are happening in Pakistan and SCGA is doing a great job. We were honored to actually visit the flagship office that you talked about and also see the land. And that's why real estate developers are concerned. A lot of people have shown interest in the past as well. So a lot of things are happening at the moment, and as far as real estate developers and construction companies are concerned, a lot of them are already in the process of doing things on their own. But this initiative by the government in setting up platforms will actually create and harness more synergies towards building more of the Proptech industry in Pakistan. And I would like to thank Patrick for inviting us over here. Additionally, I'd like to thank Mohsin, Kamran, and Umair to be part of this panel discussion. Just to start, as mentioned, Proptech. We talk about property and technology. Right? So technology word has been used a lot these days. Everything has a prefix or a postfix like tech. While I was running over here, I bypassed on Pico Road and a shop by the name of Ice Tech. And I slowed down and I was able to find Ice Tech, what's that for? It was written ice cream powder. And I stopped and I asked that one for and stuff. And the guy came out and said, "I'm going to remember planet man and I won't fix it." I said, "Why did you put up with that? Ice cream, Ice Tech." So he said, "Because I'm a technologist." And he himself was a graduate technologist. So the tech industry is doing a lot. A lot of things are happening, but I don't know how we actually did that way. Actually, but that's something that's happening in Pakistan. Starting with a few of you, just to let's talk about the current market situation and the trends that are there. Perhaps go to a few of you.
Thank you very much, and thank you. From that side, I'll just give a little introduction about myself. And my name is Mohsin. We have a parent brand of Khudi, and during which we run an accelerator called Dastak Accelerator. It is a program where we take companies, Pakistani companies and global companies into Saudi Arabia and set them up for success in Saudi Arabia. Property is something which is driving, as Dastak said, that property is the key industry, and he said that in the two-thirds of the world's wealth is based on property businesses. So it is the starting point for a lot of change. So, and just trying to do a comparison between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, where there is this country which was not into giving out any ownership rights to international audiences or international. Now it's costly converting because they realize the potential of converting a desert into a sellable commodity. And we've seen how these new structures come out with the Red Sea nations and others that they're creating so that people can get into Saudi Arabia. And we've seen this as all the GCC countries are trying to emulate this structure. They're trying to bring international investments in property and sustainable property. So sustainability is driving the change and the living preferences of people in these countries. And international investors will probably do the So around green construction, energy, and waste management. So these are the three areas that have been the key selling points for properties and setups in the Saudi Arabia. And now they are attracting international companies and technology companies which are fitting into their larger Vision 2030 framework. And all the Pakistan talking about Saudi Arabia at this time because Pakistani issues at this time in terms of economic issues, a lot of us are focused on exporting. So I think it's an opportune moment to actually help our audience understand how export opportunities around property tech or state tech are building up. So at least in Saudi Arabia, where we working, terms of energy conservation, the ideas like HVAC optimization, because energy in terms of air conditioning is a big driver of energy spend. So a lot of companies, technology companies, which are coming up with solutions with optimization of cooling or heating capabilities is one area which is building up. In terms of green construction, newer materials that are coming up for sustainable development, be it on the replacement of the large infrastructures like roads or on the construction side, there are interesting combinations. And the third is waste management. So both in terms of corporate waste, industrial waste, and residential waste. So monitoring, recycling, these are all these ideas that I have seen while we were scouting for companies who are rightly poised to move to Saudi Arabia. We looked at a lot of Pakistani companies which are trying to do stuff which can be scalable. But unfortunately, because of their structure, they are not yet scalable. So these are the three areas at least I see which have an opportune, epiphany moment at least in Saudi Arabia that local companies can actually graduate, which is in solar, in green construction and waste management, which are the three priorities for that market. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I think that you pointed out, I just want to put a little more perspective around what's happening in the investment space, particularly to the Proptech. I think we are seeing a lot of investments coming from the VC side. For context, I've been working with various VCs and startups in Dastak. And we can only see real Proptech that is sort of scaled massively in Pakistan. I think maybe a few around looking at that scale where they have been able to work not only just on that market basis but other verticals also. So I think there is a lot of space currently, but what we need to currently figure out is what verticals can Pakistan try and tap into, what problem are we trying to solve for, and what's the local market look like, how can various players like the incubation center, the government, the large corporate person, and also the fact that I think this is open for trade, and I'd like to tap into the fact that do we really need VCs to contribute to this space, or do we have large enough corporates that will come in and join hands with the software houses or the incubation center, and we can build our economy on our own. So I definitely love to have this debate on this platform.
My name is Kamran, and I'm the CEO and founder of Indus Solutions. So thank you so much for having me here today. So just a bit of background what we're doing. So we are a construction technology startup, and we come from the industry. So I myself am a user of large infrastructure projects, like the hydro projects that are being constructed in Pakistan, and the power projects that were part of the 2016 power policy. So we are part and parcel of this industry. You can say Proptech or ENC, engineering and construction, which is largely a more than $10 trillion industry globally. And the industry thing about this industry, I'll talk about global context over here. So it's one of the largest industries, with 13% global GDP going into this industry. And what's more important over here for us as Pakistanis, technology space, or the basic industry by itself, is that this industry is least digitalized. The industry today, globally, is a laggard industry. We talk about US, we talk about UK, we talk about EU, we talk about China. All these large, basically, economies are focusing on industry. Why? UN sustainability goals, net zero. So from that, I was at a talk as well, and this was the main reason that 44% of UN sustainability goals, 17 UN sustainability goals, they depend on construction or Proptech or key technology being fixed. So there is you can say there is a larger mandate behind this as far as the market. If we talk about the overarching basically goals of the industry, and specifically see, we research and we see a very large movement going on globally in this market. in terms of investment, in terms of technology, innovation, and a lot of corporates, even the construction companies in the US or in Canada, so they made their corporate venture capital basically as Umair mentioned, so corporate venture capital is also being explored. So it's also very interesting that we need to explore how basically as industry, VCs, and technology converge, and how it's not something that the previous strategies can work in this industry, because this industry is literally, you can say every industry has its own dynamic, so we need to operate in a very different way in this industry. So that's just an overall, you can say, where the industry stands from our perspective.
One more thing that emerged from the session we just had is the about people who are into this industry. For example, we talk about building construction. And then there are people who have the money but don't have the background in construction, or let's say commercial construction or residential construction, but they have the money and want to jump in. We talk about small scale business owners who have started money lying down for pocket investment, and they would like to just throw that in somewhere. In Pakistan, do we have such platforms available openly? Because normally what happens is, you're my buddy, you're my friend, let's invest in this person, have done enough stamping and things like that, but do we have a proper registered platform available for such people? We just deep investment and invest in those companies who are constructing something, who have done money, but these guys have financial muscle.
Right. I think the mastermind for this strategy is written side different person, Mr. Dastak, REITs basically. That's the platform that you're talking about. So the REITs, I mean, you're taking the conversation where, I have money, I want to invest in property, right? So that is where the REITs, the REIT management company, REIT that, right? So that is where they come into play, and it's, I think, thankful to Ijasa that he used to call, he was part of this, am I right, sir? Yes. So basically, this is a topic that Dastak will cover in, I think, at length, that how REITs, I mean, what I can say from my side, as far as REITs are concerned, is that REITs is a platform for a commoner to invest in property, right, sir? So and it's secure, it is under SEC, it's regulated, your investment is safe. So from that standpoint, if we want to invest in property, as an investor, property investment, I think REITs is something that is global, that has globally it's a remarkable thing, and it's still progressing in Pakistan, and I think it has a very great potential.
Kamran, one more question regarding the let's say, because in 2014 when I was at Indus, I was working with the President over there. We started with entrepreneurship, and then we joined the National Innovation Center Board, and then we created National Innovation Center. That was part of these three innovation centers where a lot of companies came in, young startups, young businesses, young minds wanted to do something in construction. They wanted to bring in these brick-layering machines, cement layering machines and all that. However, they didn't have the seed, or they didn't have the financial muscle to actually run them, or to create a pathway for them. At that time, we didn't have Ignite 2014, 18 later. Seed fund was not available, venture capitalists they were like, okay, fine, we chicken and egg story what we want, things were happening. So when we talk about the VCs, because that's where we are. So we talk about jobs that he's created, something like that. So when we talk about VCs, are they actually helping in this? They be interested, as you mentioned, that we VCs in this, or can that be done on your own and bootstrap? So I open this up to both of you. Any of you have any comments on this?
So I think there is this, I would do this and I see from the VC front as well what's happening. So VCs typically are investing in platforms which can drive a hockey stick growth, right? And that's what has failed the industry at all as well. Now they are trying to reassemble themselves. But in terms of real estate, what is, the real estate and fintech and how they are connected now is around asset monetization, right? So we've been all talking about fractional assets and people being able to, what we talk about is a REIT structure. So if I have a property and I want to unlock a certain part of that property, by creating a value which can help me develop that For example, a lot of us which are owners have this challenge of how can I unlock the value which is in my real estate to create something substantial so that I can create a, some asset which is generating. Not I just not wait for capital gains to happen, but I can actually build it up. So now VCs have not been typically investing in Pakistan. Only the investments that we have seen are around financing these small homeowners. For example, this company, Chala was there, and then we've seen that there's not been a high uptake. In the last government, there was a financing scheme for underserved people. There was some interest of creating a parallel structure where these were happening. But again, real estate, what I have seen, so I'm a fintech, I'm not a real estate guy. What I see there is that in terms of regulation, so SECB has been trying for so long in terms of coming out with a fractional program of how this can work. But what I see from in Saudi or UAE or in Qatar, what I'm seeing, they are focused now on rather building large structures. They want to come up with people unlocking the value through these asset monetization, frameworks. So if we can do an asset monetization framework or a regulation where people can unlock the value within their real estate and sell a piece of their property for an aggregate value increase of that property.
Some of the things that I want to where what you're doing, basically creating these flag systems that was already working in China and actually so a lot of skyscrapers are there. A lot of that is now happening in Lahore. And I think that could actually be one of the things that you can actually create a vertical building where you can use the space about. And of course, rather than doing capturing more space after we see the coming, you can have a system scale. So this brings me to a question regarding sustainable living. हमने बात की sustainable living, we talked about introducing of tech into property. So एक बड़ा concept आता है, words बड़े use होते हैं system के, which is a smart home. We talked about that. But are there any smart homes around? Can you use this map? Do we really have people, or is just like people unique living in things why they will from China and just implementing the house and just putting them on the app? So do we really create those kind of houses? Come on, or are you planning to do that?
I would like you to define what is smart.
Yeah, exactly. Smart.
This is a big issue that what is smart,
Yeah, true. Let's say this is smart. Smart. Okay. I do most of my things, or I do most of the things using this. Right? So when you talk about smart homes, you talk about conserving energy, you talk about having things done before you actually want to get out of the bed. Turning on air conditioning, turning on the lights in the house, on your way, doing that from some Panasonic, doing that with their smart inverter, right? So do we really have these kind of homes any more and more available? Because majority of our construction or our society that a lot of investors are building at the moment, these are society funding. So they talk about being smart, they talk about using less, conserving less energy or resources. So I do not see that. So is there anything that is happening on ground? Because I talk about from the venture capitalist point of view. Like one way is you find out you can down that piece, the lotto, just make sell the lotto, and then you sell it to the person, consumer buys it, and I get my money and I'm out. So one way is that. The other one is actually do more than just making some profits and actually giving something out to the consumer or the end client. So do we have anything happening at the moment? I mean,
so this is what I do. I think what's really important here is to, like you said, define what the smart home, but if it in its entirety, even if we don't see the entire journey a smart home, per se, we do see some level of digitalization happen. We do see bits and pieces where people would at least digitize their maybe electricity or maybe how people consume that. I still see that we are on the right track. we see small little companies integrated with these builders to try, digitize how people create those smartphones. But I think it's a long way. But then again, what VCs want to invest in such a thing, right? Like Sarah said, can it give these things? I personally don't think so. That may not be the right thing for a VC to invest in. I personally think corporates can still come in, put in their money and get a good return with these things.
There are a few companies that we have actually seen doing these kind of things in chunks and pieces. One of them is SC Drop, run by Abdullah, one of the persons who's now gone to Stanford in order to do his further research into water conservation. So that is one of the companies which is actually assisting in building a smart home in terms of water usage. So they are trying to use a way in which they can actually filter the water that you use in the house for personal hygiene, and that can be reused to plant your water your gardens as well as wash cars. So that is one little chunk that's there. Then again, we have another business owner. He's Shayan, situated in Karachi at the moment, working on water conservation again, assisting in reducing the bacteria in the water for personal use. And that those filters you can simply in your house, and 60 gallons of water can be used or can be really filtered by one of those. Another company which was called Wati. Now these guys were the ones who were in Pakistan, who were here and wanted to develop this made in Pakistan, made by Pakistan, and wanted to stay here. But fundings were not there. So Wati was actually creating a retrofit for your home appliances to make sure that they use less energy, less electricity, and further assist you in reducing your electricity bills. Now over here, the digital environments were not provided. What happened that they went to the next. So what do you think when we talk about such businesses which are already here? University of Lahore has few businesses. You have new architect designers who are coming in, graduating every year. So they're being handholded as well. As Osama mentioned earlier, that startups will be handholded and all that. But a lot of startups actually require a lot of money. So I open up this thing again that would the venture capital firms or people or even corporates be able to hold hands such bigger hand-holding such startups in Pakistan, would they like to actually do the R&D themselves and reinvent it?
Yeah. I think there is a two-pronged approach to that. First is the value proposition that is being provided by the technology, first of all. And second and most important, because we have done research across the globe that how technology adoption is done at scale. Okay? So, and from that standpoint, that is where the regulation kicks in, that is where the government kicks in. Okay? So the first thing is the value proposition. As far as when I asked the question of smarts, because smarts is something, it's a buzzword, like IoT, AI is a buzzword. Majority of people don't even know what AI is and what it does, to be very honest. So we talk about AI, but we don't talk about the data, which is the fuel, right? So from that standpoint, it's very important how do we quantify and define smart. Okay? So smart is basically automation. At the moment, we see HLS drinks, so about 10, 15, 10-20 साल से हम drinks को देख रहे हैं, HLS देख रहे हैं, so they are also smart. They provide sensors, there is a movement, and there is a notification on your phone. So this is 20, 15 years old. This is not new. So from that standpoint, smart is basically changing with the behavioral needs of the user. So basically, the system is automatically adjusting its environment. Let's say, for instance, right now it's too cold in this room, right? And as a mobile, so this is where it needs to adjust automatically. There is more temperature. So that's like automatically it is adjusting with the user needs, and it is smart enough to evaluate that who is around, what is the environment, what is the temperature outside. So that's just the brief on the technology side. So that is being worked on globally as well. But the second part is basically regulation. At the moment, look, I come up with an amazing technology for water usage. It is for, let's say, 3 lakh rupees. We can add 10 to 15,000 rupees per month for a one canal user. I tell you, I bet you nobody will buy. Why? Because there's no regulation there. So from that standpoint, we need to inculcate regulation when someone is building houses, and this is what is going on globally. If you pick, the global markets, that's how they introduce technology. When they introduce, it is proven, value proposition is there, then they kick in regulation so that it can go on to scale. So VCs, now the VC question comes in. So my perspective as far as local VC culture is concerned, I'm not very familiar with local VC culture, but what I've seen globally, that there are niche, specialized Proptech VCs globally operating now. Because you see, it is a very niche market. The VC or the financier is basically, he needs to know what are the ins and outs of this industry. The biggest issue about this industry, which VCs need to realize, normal VC, obviously Proptech VC they realize, is basically that this industry has a long time. Okay. Normally when we come up with these solutions, e-commerce, so on and so forth, you get GMV quickly, you have user, even normally there's a pitch deck, you're like, what is GMV, how are you producing? So these kind of jargons, in my opinion, because I come from the industry, right? So these kind of jargons are not applicable in this industry. We need to take a deeper dive in the VCs. I'll name a few. AO Proptech is a very popular EU VC. They're operating in €1 billion. And they're getting funds from, UN because they're targeting your sustainability goals. That's where they're getting money from as well. So from that standpoint, I personally think the VCs need to have the acumen, they need to have an understanding of this industry to come up with the right tools which are, right businesses, because eventually it's the business which will survive. So in my opinion, what I've seen is that if VC is lacking, these two VCs can come, advise better, but if they don't know the industry, they will not invest. So that is my perspective on it, as far as the startup is concerned and as far as the user is concerned.
Right. It's when I actually remember Kamran, the research that I've done in 2021, VCs in the US regarding PropTech on residential, they spent about $6.2 billion. Additionally, in commercial PropTech, they spent about $2.6 billion. So there is something out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is a big market.
Oh yeah, as per the McKinsey report, since 2021 to 2023, there's about $50 billion investment gone globally into PropTech. So from that standpoint, and I tell you, there are niche VCs that are operating in this field. And obviously, it's a specialized market, and you need to know the ins and outs. You need to have specialized people. You need to have, let's say, you need to have civil engineers on board. I'll be very honest. You need to have HVAC experts on board in order to understand the technology better, in order to basically, understand the value proposition better.
Right. Additionally, because a lot of things are based on construction. Sometimes land is not favorable for construction. One of them, the areas of Ravi, let's say, we had a project out there in order to build that Ravi development of urban development, right? So people did not wish to jump in because they were like, we find this land which is sandy and things like that. So when we talk about people, they simply go to see a desert, as you mentioned that they're converting a desert into real estate and they're using that as an opportunity. We do have a lot of opportunities available to us, but the problem that I see when I meet a lot of people around are, यार वहाँ जाके क्या करेंगे वो तो सारा सरा. It won't be beneficial to us. South में क्यों बनाना जाके छोड़ो. People are working in Multan now, but they haven't gone down other than that. So how do we actually assess and educating people who are out there with money? Normally what happens is they go to real estate, they talk to people and they'll find where to get your investment in plots and we have to buy that. Rather, they jump into corporate, or the corporates are they open for people to jump in and invest in that, to provide such opportunities? Or are they just simply fine here, either not to let's build up a tourism house or a what, and then just sell it, the value proposition we talk about. So do we have any of those kind of people or the government? It's a question for the government, but I do ask from you because you guys are from real estate, right? So I want to know that do you actually look into that too when you're acquiring lands or things like that? Or is it just that this is the phase that we'll jump into? Mohsin, you've been to KSA, so if you tell us a little bit on that.
I think both from when you asked the question, and I was thinking through of instances where these large groups have been successful in investing anything in innovation. And very recently, when we've seen that NICs propping up, right, and we see Mahmood Groups and Intel Groups of the world and Lucky's of the world now coming together and saying that we will partner with NetSouls of the world and maybe these in participating in these national information center facilities. Right? But what is behind them? So I think what we have seen mostly, in most of the cases, even in large corporates, they have been rent-seeking businesses. And although they are investing in NICs, but NIC is a structure which is 70% paid by, in this new RFPs, they're 70% paid by the government, 30%. But in the previous cases, they were 100% paid by the government as well. So for them, it's a very straightforward investment. So they had nothing to lose and they had to build brand to cash accounts. Very few long-term investments like Dawood Foundation's investment in either this science museum or maybe at LAMS or maybe at they were building a training program for people. So I think at larger scale, I don't see a lot of old school businesses or previous generation businesses investing into innovation structures. I mean, nahi nazar aata, right? So in 1999, I was part of a AKD group which had built up the first venture capital fund in the country. This was called TMT Ventures. And then it was Parkway Investment Company, HBL, NIT, which created those first 5 LPs in that VC structure. And this was the year 1999. And now 2022, there is hardly any addition into those corporate LPs kind of. Parkways is just invested with Planet 9 in another fund. But there is hardly any appetite from large institutions to play in that space. The same names that we had 20 years ago, they're still there, right? Yet there are, so I'm hopeful that these new old age businesses, their new young bred, their sons and their new generations are coming in and they're trying to change a piece of that puzzle. But I think the friction from the board level or the prior generations is high. So I don't see that changing overnight. So what I don't see also is, so a lot of these companies, when they look at this, they have some foundation of philanthropic capital available to be given out because that's a big photo opportunity. But then, and they probably get a discount or a tax break in terms of when they invest in there. But is there an appetite for innovation? Is there an incentive for RFIP or Habib Rafi or anybody to invest and fail in innovation? Right? So, because there is, when innovation happens, so 99% would probably fail, there will be 1% success. But these large structures, they have that capability of making that a highly profitable innovation, because that's what they can do. They can offer themselves as a large customer of the first innovation idea. But there is no incentive for them to do that. Maybe that's a piece that, out of many pieces that we have to solve from a regulatory infrastructure perspective. But I don't see that, and if that's there, maybe I don't know about it.
Okay. So just to conclude now, let's just say I am somebody who wishes to invest, let's say in Proptech or real estate, Proptech as a venture capitalist. So what advice would you give me that I need to be focused on when I'm investing my money into such a venture? आपके ख्याल में कौन सी ऐसी चीजें होनी चाहिए जो किसी को cautiously देखनी चाहिए when they jump into this, and if they jump into this, as per your opinion?
Okay. So I think I may not be able to tell कहाँ invest करना चाहिए, but I think maybe try and stay away from marketplaces. I think that's a failed model in Pakistan. We haven't been able to see a lot of online marketplaces or ad tech platforms for Proptech, where companies have been able to scale and become also profitable. So I think let's just try and stay away from those, and maybe try and focus on business models that are cash flow positive from day one, that are actually trying to solve for a large problem, and then see there's not a lot of friction that you will see from maybe players like agents or property dealers, where you may need to invest a lot of money, try and move that friction, and then try and penetrate into the market.
So, hello, sorry. So yeah, as far as I'll take that conversation forward along with what Mohsin Saab just said. So basically, it's very important that you see these large business houses, they have capital available, and the most important thing that they have as far as startup is concerned is the problem that is available. Let's say we talk about the Baghdad's of Pakistan, let's say we talk about the entities of Pakistan. We're talking, these are also very large markets like energy markets, dam, road, energy and all that. So these are all the institutions, they are going through massive problems. Okay? So from that standpoint, there needs to be a convergence in basically at the problem as well as the money. So that's where the corporate venture capital comes in. So in my perspective, I mean, although I'm not a finance guy and I don't have much exposure on the VC side, but I personally think that just what Osama said, that it needs to be cash flow positive from day one. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. There's a company, Passive Logic, in US. They're building a modern building management system. They started in 2016. They launched their beta product in 2013 November, and they've invested $85 million. So you cannot be cash forward. That's the problem with this industry. We need to realize this. And that's how we need to fly. We need to fly on a different mode over here. There's a different mode, there's a different acumen, there's a different medicine that is needed for this industry, first of all. Secondly, for the venture capital as it is, if they want to invest, I personally think the best model for this industry is corporate venture capital. Where the big industries, let's say, the Destons of Pakistan, the Baghdad or the NTDC or IOB, basically Golden Reeds. So they are massive developers. They're running through problems on daily basis. They have problems, the money comes in from VC, there's a technology, so that is where all three collide and you're able to fix the problem. And obviously, when you fix the problem, you have a solution, and that is basically you build a very strong foundation of a business. So in my perspective, I think there needs to be a convergence, and that is where as per maybe from STs, basically that is where the government can come in. It's like a marriage. What we need from the government, in my opinion, we work with industries like Engro, Biki, Haveli, Bhagasha, all these power plants as well. The problem that we have is that we don't have innovative mindset that Mohsin Saab just mentioned. So when I did my engineering from UK, so I had an opportunity to work at Tata Steel's Skunk facility. So when the metal sheet was coming out of the facility, they were like, the clients from automobile industry, they reject when there is a 2 mm more scratch. So if the scratch is bigger than 1, so they're like, we would call as university students to do research with Siemens. So we worked on that project, we gave 10 propositions, and then as a student we learned, and they were innovating. The problem with our industry is that our industry is not innovating. There needs to be a regulation or some kind of kick or some kind of dopamine that needs to be given to the industry, that the Engros of the world, I'll be very honest, the Destons of the world, they need to innovate, the Fatmas of Pakistan need to innovate. So we are just depending on foreign technology. Okay, there's a brand GE, you give this, okay, you have this option, okay, we evaluate amongst this. Faisal can comment on that, he's from the same industry. So from that standpoint, we need to come out of the operator mindset and maintenance mindset, we need to go into the innovative mindset, that I need to solve this problem. How do I solve this? So from that standpoint, the industry lacks innovative mindset. So that is what in-house, because when we do innovation internally, obviously we'll come up with products, we'll come up with big businesses, and eventually we can export as well. So that is the mindset that is needed, the innovation, in-house innovation, not dependent on the Gs of the world. So that's my take on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamran. Thank you, Umair. Thank you, Mohsin. I would like to end with a comment that, as Osama mentioned about the triple helix concept, that is something that is required at the moment in terms of people investing in Pakistan in real estate and in Proptech. With this, I also would like to say that a lot of people think that, yes, we need to flee the country, let's go somewhere else, settle down somewhere else, get resolved. With some downfalls come opportunities as well. So there are a lot of opportunities within the country, within this region, which need to be explored. That can be done by having syndicates with the government, with the people like yourself and the like-minded who are under this roof at the moment. Set certain strategies, build drafts, and then go to the government and see to it that okay, fine, this can be done. As Kamran mentioned, that the people who are actually involved in the real estate and in the Proptech, they need to be part of these syndicates that are built rather than just the people sitting in the government and making final decisions. The decisions should be based on the triple helix model, where the investors, where the owners, stakeholders, all of them are put under one roof, discussions are done, drafts are created, and then solutions should be provided for. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for being such a nice audience.